them. So do whatever you can. Uh, I I will even stop a play, like a mini. Sometimes you get a chance to do a little bit of a mini play with them. I'll even say, is there anything more you want to see from this game, or do you want to hear more about some of my other games? Because again, I only have so much time, so I'm always conscious about that. Or do you want to see it later, or do you want to come meet again afterwards? Anything to figure out how best to use your time. And another failing lesson that I learned, which was really interesting about pitching at a convention, was one time I walked up cold to a booth, and I think it was R&R Games, and I said, "Hey, are you looking at submissions? Yeah, what's your game?" And it was like right there at the booth, like right there. Don't not take away, just right there. I'm like, oh, it's a partner game, a card game with partners, kind of like Tishu. It's a partner game, and but it's about juggling. And the higher the number, the harder the thing is to juggle, just for visual fun. Like a 1 and a 2 is a bowling pin and a whatever, and then I get some machete and a chainsaw, and then the highest number is a cat. You're juggling cats. And he's like, that sounds really fun. Let's just play it, like right here on top of some of his games in the middle of this convention. I'm like, oh, okay. So we play it for less than a minute, and he's like, all right, I don't want it. I'm like, oh. And which I really like about, I think it was Frank and R&R, super blunt. But again, from a saving you time and being efficient, it's great. Okay. And he's like, hey, he goes, it might be a great game. So no issue with the game. But the way you pitch the game with juggling chainsaws and cats, I was expecting a totally different type of game. I'm like, oh, okay, I see. So then we take that back and we kind of review with Sam. And so now we have some decisions to make, right? So what should we do? Should we A, change our pitch to match the gameplay, or B, change the gameplay to match the pitch, right? Because the pitch got him interested. And that's where we started, because like, well, that's kind of fun, like juggling cats and chainsaws. So how can we make a gameplay that matches that? Even though we like the game that we made, we were like, let's just kind of brainstorm, because it doesn't hurt to brainstorm. It doesn't cost any money to brainstorm. And so as we were brainstorming, we thought, immediately we're like, well, we can't ask people to juggle, because people can't juggle. Like that would be ridiculous if we actually added a juggling. But then it led us to think about, well, but could we add any element of dexterity to the game? Would that be interesting? I'm like, yeah, well, we have all these cards with different numbers, right? Maybe each number could be a different shape, and we're like trying to balance those shapes on top of each other. And so, yeah, that sounded interesting. We made it really quickly, and immediately it was super fun, and eventually got signed and totally came out as junk art, if you've ever heard of that game. This is the number one dexterity game, stacking game on BGG. Yeah, yeah. But from a story perspective of pitching something that was about juggling a card game of juggling cats and chainsaws, and somehow through a brainstorm purpose turning into that, which was one of her biggest hits. It's just wild that and so it's just a lesson to be like, you know, it doesn't hurt to brainstorm ideas, even if they go away from, like, it went 100% different direction than a trick taking kind of card. It wasn't trick taking, it was like a ladder climbing game, partner game, like so different. But it doesn't hurt to brainstorm when, especially when we had something that was a hook, juggling cats and chainsaws. Yeah, yeah. And I think we got a bunch of signed games because we're so easy to work with. When I pitched Belfort, which was the first game we got signed, they liked the game, and they had a couple of feedback and like thoughts about some money and income and how it worked. And they liked it, but they wanted to play it again the next day at the convention. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I said to them, let's incorporate your idea. And they were like shocked that I was willing to do that, like on the fly. And later they told me that was one of the reasons they signed the game, because it just felt like I was so easy to work with, and this was going to be fun. And because they're going to work with you for the next 8 months to a year and a half, get this game out. So they want somebody that's going to be not pulling and tugging and like contradicting and arguing and standing up. You know what I mean? Like you got to stand up for things that are worth it. And I think I did that once. It was for Belfort. Everything was awesome as it came in, and I think it was the back of the box, and it was like a letter, and it was a very fun, worded letter of like, oh, it's really cute. But I was like, that's really cute and everything, but and neat. But like to me, when I pick up back of box, I need to see components. I need to see the game laid out. And fortunately, the publisher's like, yeah, me too. So let's change that. I'm like, oh, thank God. Yeah. Um, it's pretty much the Ira Glass quote. I don't know if you've heard of this quote or not, and I'll just paraphrase it. But basically, if you like an artistic medium of any kind, painting, sculpting, music, and you have high standards of what is good, and you know what's good because you've experienced enough of it that you can become critical of it in a good way. And then if you then decide to then partake and become one of the creators in that medium, invariably that your first attempt at it sucks. It just is not good, and you know it's not good because you have that critical analysis of the the beer you're making or the songs you're writing or whatever. Like this is not good. This sucks. And unfortunately, a high majority of people at that point, they stop, they quit, they jump off. They say, well, I guess I'm not supposed to be a sculptor. I guess God doesn't want me to be a painter. I guess blah, 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 all these things. And it's like, oh, no. Every single person that ended up doing something good creatively is because they went through years and years and months and years and however much time it is of failing, of not getting it right, of trying to just get through it. And all of that adds up to experience. All of those failings is experience. You learn from it. And eventually that's how you get good, is only from doing it. And so if you're new at it, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to put it aside and start something else. Don't be afraid to just kind of keep trying over and over again. And if you ever feel you're stuck, that is for sure when I'd recommend try just a different game entirely and just start working on something different. And then sometimes with that extra experience now, months or a year later, you come back to this game, you're like, oh, I now know what to do with this game. It almost happens every time because you have that experience. Maybe. Mhm. I don't think. I want to hear it now. Oh, okay. I get. Boop, 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 boop.
Here, let me know if you all can hear me now. If you can, good. Hello, Ken. Hello, Jade. Got some people in here watching, so that'll be interesting to go down the road, and people will be like, "Oh yeah, I heard Jay. I have no clue what you were saying, Chris, but hopefully it was good." No, but they had Denzel went to a college, and one of the things he's like practice makes, and all everybody responded perfect, wrong, and so he talked about his journey about no, and it's like if there's that idea of okay, if you do what you love, you'll never work another day in your life. No, you'll actually work harder for it. You'll actually put the blood, sweat, and tears
For
into
80
it.
hours a week instead of 40 hours a week.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, it's just that idea of, okay, he learned how to fail so many times in acting, being denied so many different jobs and different roles, and then he kept working and persevering and actually getting better at his craft, and now like he is known as being just a fabulous and amazing actor, with the body of his work, and just like you've worked so hard to make just a beautiful amount of games, like I mean, Rock Paper Wizard. And of course, my favorite ones being the ones that are from the op, like the Coded Chronicles. I could rant and rave about those just all day. So, but just something about that, you've actually put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. And what's amazing now is that now you're taking that same blood, sweat, and tears, and you're putting it into teaching others how to fail faster, which is, I love that terminology that you use, fail faster. And even this new game that you've got coming out from Fail Faster is all about designing your destiny and fixing the games that people that you might see something broken mechanically, or you might see something broken thematically, like being able to say, okay, how do we adjust and pivot? And you're basically in your game, from what I've seen and watching your YouTube video about it, you're actually showing people how to learn how to pivot in those moments and make something happen from it. Tell us a little bit about the game.
Yeah, I will. So the game, the box is called Design Your Destiny: Running Out of Time, and so it's, as you can see from the box, it says read the story, play the games, fix the games. So that's the kind of small pitch, but so it comes with a book, and in the book there is an actual full story with wonderful art by this guy named Alan Orr, which I just love. Really goofy, but it's not like a content. It's like an actual full story you have to read. You get to read, and then every couple chapters there is a game you play, and so you play the game. It's got components in the box, it's got the rules, and you play it, and then you realize there's something about that. As you turn the page, you're like, that game wasn't that fun, was it? There was something wrong with it. What was wrong with it? And then it starts to kind of teach you a few things, and then it starts to give you some agency to be like, well, how are we going to fix this? Here's a bunch of ideas. How do you want to fix it? And he says, well, why don't you try one of them? And if you can't come up with an idea, here's a starter idea how you do it. And here's a little playtest note page so you can kind of play test it with your mom or your brother or your sister or your friend and play it right there. And then there's even a post-game discussion. So the very first game you play, there's a lot of hand-holding of like, hey, how do you do it? And then at the end it says, hey, guess what? If you do these tasks on fixing the game, you earn stickers. And in the back of the book, there is a sticker page. And as you earn stickers, you put them here on this back page, and effectively, you're trying to fix the time machine that the characters in the stories have, and it's broken for them. And so you actually are kind of coming and breaking the fourth wall, and you're actually fixing this time machine for them. And once you do, if you can do all 25 stickers, meaning you've gone through the book, you've played all 5 games, and you've tweaked and fixed all 5 games, then you're gonna earn 25 stickers. You'll be able to unlock the final chapter, which will be sealed, so you can't read the final chapter until you do it. And so so like as you go, we start to take the reins off a little bit more, and you get more and more ability to make your own decisions on how to fix the game. And we start to say, well, what do you think is broken? And even more amazing, fun art, just really cool. So I'm super excited about it. It launches September 12th, and while it's targeted at kind of 8 and up for kids, because we do think this is a great way to get kids interested in games, not just game design, just interested in games and understanding. Oh, this is why this is better than this because of these reasons. And this is why, I get it. And also targeting anybody who is interested in game design. It doesn't have to be kids at that point, just anybody who wants to have a little bit more hand-holding. There's a lot of resources out there for game design, but sometimes it's just a book of like what to do as a game. And it's just like all this stuff. And you're like, well, where do I start? What do I do? So this is like, here's some actual games. They're made, but they're broken. Now, see what happens if you change this rule. What if you added 2 dice? What if you added this? What if you took this away? And then you can actually test it. They're so quick and simple games that you'll be able to test it really quick.
I like that because, like you said, sometimes people can't just read a book and just get it all like that because it doesn't always happen that way. I'm not that way with my ADHD. My brain thinks so many different ways. I have to take meds just to keep myself focused sometimes. But what I like, though, is the fact that you really are taking those five games and you're making it digestible for somebody, even like myself or somebody else that might be interested at some point getting into game design, to be able to just take those small little bite-sized meals and actually get a full course experience, kind of where they want to go from there. And that's
And
really cool. That's encouraging.
thank you. Yes, I'm very excited. But we're even offering an educator's version, which is going to be a different SKU that's going to have all of the text boxes removed from the book, and instead it'll say, "Go fill out your workbook," and then it'll have a PDF workbook that you can print a million times. So you don't have to keep buying this book over and over again. You can keep it from season to season with all your students or classmates or camps or clubs that you're in and libraries. And so we're going to also even have an ability for backers to add an extra copy to their pledge and have it donated to a local library, a school, camper club.
Yeah, that's the one thing that got me excited when we were going back and forth on email, was just that idea that there's a way for people to actually encourage that growth by purchasing an extra copy to actually benefit somebody else, because sometimes, very much in the board game community, not everybody has the dollars to just be able to go out there and spend and be able to enjoy it. Very much, a lot of times, board games can be very much a luxury. And you have to look at price points as a family. Like, as a family of 5, we try to keep it within that $30 to $40 price point is what we're looking for usually on a game. So if we're trying to give something in that price range, to another family, we know that they're going to be able to, handle that. Or if they aren't able to, like, financially, fortunately, there's people that are not able to just spend that money just off the bat because they're going to take away from their meal. The fact that you have something like an option like that to be able to provide to somebody else, I think is an amazingly beautiful thing. I love that, because I think I do see publishers do some stuff where they're like, hey, we're going to work with some book clubs, but or they help out with the Spiel, which I love. I love Stephen Conway and the Spiel, where he does stuff with board game publishers and makes it possible to get games in schools. But I love the idea that you're challenging the community to actually make an impact, positive impact, that will benefit somebody else and help them in their journey. So that's really cool.
Yeah, thanks. I'm still trying to figure out all the numbers to it, but the concept, I think, is you pay for another unit, and then I'll pay for the shipping, so you don't have to pay for shipping for both.
That's awesome. Yeah. Now, are you going to have it like where they mention the school, or is it going to be you're going to have like set?
I think so. I'm going to ask schools and clubs and camps and libraries. Often it's hard / impossible for them to back a Kickstarter, because there's a lot of those are involved with government, and they can't back a Kickstarter. And so for them, they might, as an individual librarian, as a person, as a human, just back it because they want it, and that's fine. But as for the library, they can't. So I'll have them instead, hey, sign up to this with this form, and we'll have, if you want, a free copy, because anybody on this list, we're going to try to match you up with somebody that donates a copy.
I like it. Because, yeah, libraries, I know Jen up the board game library, and I know how big of a deal it has been to have board games in her library, because it does bring about ways for kids to learn. Especially one of the big things that I think board games help is helping teach how to lose gracefully in a game. It's one of those big things, like with our kids. They're competitive. My boys, they're competitive as can be. My daughter, she's ultra competitive. She gets a little bit too much of that from me. But the idea of, like, a board game helps to teach you, okay, how to lose gracefully, how to commend and be thankful and reward and congratulate the person that's across from you from winning the game, which is just nice. It's nice to have those things. Plus, not every kid has the learning abilities to just go straight into a book and just learn everything. Whereas a game sometimes will take math but make it in a very understandable way. Like, what's the game? Volanomo. Volanomo card game just came out by Cathala and 25th Century Games. The idea is it uses math, but it's a very easily digestible way of seeing it. And I love that, because, I mean, if there's a way for you to educate kids and educate families, and also bring them into an amazingly beautiful hobby that this is, make it happen. So that's great that you are making a point to work with those different clubs and libraries, because that's big.
If you want to teach this out to a group of people, like at a camp or at a library or at a school or whatever, we've got a facilitator's guide and a slide deck that will help go through this as like a 5 day camp. This you could use this. You got your whole what's it called when you have a lesson plan for the whole week? Whatever it is, the
I
lesson
mean,
plan.
lesson plan. Yeah, lesson plan. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So it's already created for you. So this is gonna be great for teachers or librarians or whoever that is like, oh, this is gonna be great. I can actually just sit down. They read the story, they come back, we teach this learning. Then they go and do activities together, and then when they come back and they share their games, and we all play the games, and then we go to the next chapter. It's like a really cool activity for groups.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of libraries usually have like a summer club thing that they try to do for
Yeah.
kids. So to be able to have something like that for kids and then have the PDFs to actually hand out to the kids, and so that way they can use the PDFs and write stuff down. And parents can of course come to those events to help out with the reading and stuff like this. If there's going to be kids who maybe have some learning disabilities, so being able to at least have that accessibility is a great thing, especially at a library.
I taught this whole thing out to a group of homeschooled kids in a co-op in a community, and over a few weeks, and it was wonderful. And then the final week, when you kind of have to design the fifth game, is you're just given the objective and you have to design the entire game at that point. So we really take the reins off, and you've got all these options that you've learned from the previous games and which ones you want to use. And we had the parents come for that last one and play their final game, which was really exciting to see how varied the games were from group to group. So it's really fun.
Yeah, I like that. I like that because, like you just said, not everybody's out in school. You've got homeschool. I mean, our kids were homeschooled for the longest period of time, and just being able to get them that exposure to using their mind and being able to use their logical thinking is just something fun to see as it just kind of, all right, have they absorbed all that stuff as a sponge? Have they absorbed it all? Now they're using the rhetoric, now they're using the logic, and they're actually able to apply it to everything that they're doing, that's just really
And
cool.
I've heard already from some influencers that have already kind of consumed the product with their or kids, that they were really motivated with the gamification of the stickers, about how that they didn't want to read the next chapter. They wanted to keep iterating on this game design because it earned them more stickers. And so that was, I think, really great. And I'm really happy it feels a part of the Fail Faster brand is that kind of gamify it. If the journal, if you've ever seen it, has as well, you kind of mark your progress as you take good notes. You get rewarded for doing well at filling out your playtest notes, and then eventually you get these little badges and you get stickers. You put them on the front of your cover, just for your own internal, like, look at how good I did. Look at all my badges I got. Just no other reason except for that. But it works because and it helps reinforce those behaviors.
Yeah, I mean, I love that achievement system because it really does push them towards getting these positive achievements. It's not just what's the word? It's not just a participation trophy like you get.
Yeah,
It's actually you're doing the work and you're actually
yeah,
getting the
yeah.
reward. And that's a big thing that I think really does help encourage that game design is that, okay, I actually want to be successful. How do I proceed? How do I do this? And then I've got that sticker. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a sticker. I remember as a kid getting those little sticker stars for getting like an A on a test or an A
Of course.
on a course, and just that idea of like, I feel special. I can show this to my mom. And like, hey, look at this. Look how I did. And they'd give you that, all right, awesome job. Or remember, I think when we were kids, remember when Pizza Hut used to have the reading club? I don't know if you remember that at all, because I think
Maybe not in Canada.
I don't know if Canada had it or not. I know here in the States we had something where Pizza Hut, where if you read so many books over the summertime, you would actually go ahead and get like a free pizza.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then they also had something I think where if you did well in school and you showed your GPA or your report card, you'd get a free pizza. You'd get your own
That's awesome.
special pizza. I mean, it would be like a small pizza, but it's your own pizza, and you're like, oh
And no
wow,
kids going in by themselves. They're coming in with their family. So
no,
the family.
exactly. Oh, it's genius. It's a
Yeah.
genius strategy that Pizza Hut came up with. And I remember just being super excited because like it's not like you couldn't go like Friday nights with the family and have pizza, but it's just the idea of like, okay, I've got this pizza because I did this work. And it's the same thing with like we're working hard in our jobs and we're getting paid, which is because we're doing the work. And I love that because that game, you're getting that reward because you are doing the work and it's beautiful. So
Yeah.
no,
Yay. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
super excited. It's such a weird product. I don't think anyone's ever done anything like this before. So everybody I talk to, just like yourself, is like it's intriguing, it's interesting. We'll see if that turns into people actually backing it and supporting it. I hope so. I'm curious because we do have plans to make this a series. So this is book one, and all of the mechanics are about movement, different ways you can move. And then the next book is going to be about gathering resources and how you can use them to build things.
It looks like somebody here in the chat just said that the thing it was called Book It, and you got a personal pan pizza for meeting a reading goal monthly. I don't remember it being monthly, Jade. Gosh, I wish that was the case for me. I think it was more like I could only it was like a summer thing for us back in Ohio. So now I'm a little jealous. Gosh, no, that's wild, wild stuff. So we've talked a little bit about the game. We talked about how it's benefiting communities and everything like that. We talked about your processes and everything like that. What's something else that we can be looking for? Now we've talked, of course, about Fail Faster, and I've put the link out a couple times up here. When is that going to hit Kickstarter?
Number 12.
Okay, nice,
Yeah.
folks. September 12th. Go check it out. I'm going to put the link one more time into the chat for anybody that's watching, and of course, for anybody that's watching after this live stream, I will be putting that also into the description where you can click on it and be notified on launch. Please make it a point though, click that link and get a little insight into it. Also, check out Jay's video on YouTube where he discusses the game. He actually opens it up, shows the whole copy. I remember one of the things that you were talking about in the video was how the dice would actually be kind of visible, like almost like a clear area where you're going to have it where people can
The
see
goal,
the
yeah.
materials and stuff inside, which I love that idea because that's for me as a parent, like, or even just like as an adult, seeing something that's actually inside the box, kind
It
of,
helps them like, oh,
it
this is
really
stuff.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what is this? Yeah, I don't know. It's just for some reason it's always nice to be able to see what's inside because, there's times where you do open the box and you're like, what is this? But
Hmm.
Jay, it was
Yeah.
great having you on tonight. I want to say thank you. Where can we find more of your games? What can we be looking forward? I know Harrow County. When is that going to be
That's
being
just printing
fulfilled?
right now. So it's
Okay.
printing, literally printing right now. So October, November, probably closer to November,
Mm-hmm.
it should be shipping to backers.
Awesome. Well, Jay,
And
thank you very much.
in Q1 next year, we're launching our fourth game. Wait, what? One, two, three. Our third game,
Mm-hmm.
Manifest Destiny, the game of cryptic exploration, which got a huge, amazing reception at Gen Con this year when we demoed it there. So I'm very excited about telling you all more about that as we get closer.
Yeah, I'd love to have you back on to talk about that and to continue talking about Fail Faster because I really do love the fact that you are taking your journey and your experience and you're doing something that not everybody does, which is share advice based on what you've experienced yourself. You're actually sharing your wisdom, which you don't get that everywhere, which I love that about this.
Yeah, it's been a mantra of mine right from the beginning. Right from the beginning, I started creating a blog on bamboozlebrothers.com, and there's a button up there called the steps, and it's literally the steps we took to get our game published. And so I've referred people to that many times. Like, I'm not saying this is how you do it, but this is how we did it, and there's all the steps, like 33 steps on how we got a game published, all the things we did to get a game published by a publisher. And then when I started my game company of Off Page Games, I created a weekly YouTube series called How to Start a Board Game Company on my Off the Page Games channel. And that was, I don't know how many videos, tons of videos of me like going through all the steps every week. So doing a YouTube video showing what I'm doing to start a board game company, which was going into the finance of it, the how do you do stretch goals, how do you do marketing, yeah, so it's very valuable, and I've heard a lot of people get a lot of good value out of both of those resources. So I'm always about being transparent and helpful as much as possible because I think it's a rises was it the rising tides raises all ships.
Mm-hmm. That
Like
is
it's
very
just
true.
every more the better games are, the better the game industry is as a whole.
That is so true because what was that? I think it's what about 5,000 to 6,000 games come out now annually, which is just wild, wild stuff. And so, it really does challenge designers to really up their game and bring out, some really neat mechanics and ideas, and actually, what you all have done with IPs has been just amazing. So,
But
yeah.
imagine going to a like having a game night. Like I'm sure you've done this with and invited people over that aren't gamers at all.
Oh, I
And so
love
you're
it.
trying to find the sushi goes and the types of games that are going to, be very easy to play and
Mm-hmm.
fun and get
Mm-hmm.
them. And invariably, every time I've had a game night, as long as curate your selection well to the right audience, they are like, that was fun. That was really neat. And that might motivate them to pop their head into a board game store when they're walking by one day and go, we should get that. What was that game called? Sushi something? Let's go get that one
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, right? And that's just good games promote more people buying games.
Oh gosh, yes. I think one of the things I love to do is I love to have some games that I know that somebody that normally would not go into a board game store, something that I could find in a Target, like even just bringing out an Exploding Kittens, or even Catan, or even just some fun party games that are out there. Like Green Team Wins just hit Target, and that was Nathan's game, Storm Chaser Games, and then of course worked with 25th Century Games, and now Buffalo, I think, is distributing it. And so just the idea that you can actually show some games that maybe will get them kind of intrigued, and you'll be like, oh, and across the street from Target is our board game cafe. It's called the Boardroom. They've got a lot of other games. Hey, if you want to, I might go out on this night. If you just want to come play some more games with me, I'll bring some. But they've got an amazing selection, and it's so much fun when you do that, because when you get people excited about game night, like I love it when I get a text message saying, "When's the next game night?" I was like,
Yeah.
and like this is during COVID. They're like, "When's the next game night?" I was like, "I don't know yet, but
Yeah. Of
we,
course.
we'll find a way."
Yeah.
But yeah, so being able to have those game nights and just be able to experience that fun. I mean, I was at a person's wedding, and they were into games. That they as a couple got married, and the best man speech had about 8 or 9 different board game references in the speech, and I'm just like, this is awesome. This is just awesome.
My MC did a similar thing where he did a big speech and it included, I think, 50 board games in his speech. And like it was on purpose. He was like, you don't need a ticket to ride to this. Like he was like, just like including them all in there. And it was like a goal for him to try to get them all in there. It was funny.
I love it. I love it because yeah, it's so true that getting somebody in the door into board games and giving them a great experience and teaching them and showing them, and not like dominating. I've had experiences. I bet you've had experiences too, where you were learning a game and somebody just basically taught it to win, not to teach.
Hmm.
And yeah, like having one of those experiences, I'm like, yeah, it puts a bad taste. So like being able to give that kind of experience where somebody can actually enjoy the game, you're talking maybe through some of the turns, is like, hey, this is why maybe I'm doing this, or just explaining it to somebody, because not everybody has the same learning abilities that we
Yeah.
do, playing games for as many years as we have. I've only been playing board games for about maybe 5 years, since I was invited to a church game night, and it's
And
been
now look
it's
at your
been
collection.
it's ridiculous. It's been a blessing. I kid you not. The board game community has been, I think, a saving grace for me mentally, and
Sure it
also,
is.
yeah. I mean, plus the people that you get to interact with. I go to conventions no longer. I don't get me wrong. I love seeing the games at a convention, but when I'm able to play them at home and everything like that, I actually go more to conventions now to be able to just see the people that I have made and called basically my found
So great.
family. I think it's one of the best things is being able to go to one of those things. Like I played one game all this Gen Con, and it was Lupin Louie.
Yeah, I love it. Me and my kids play that all the time. I love it so
Oh,
much.
there's a modified motor that you can purchase. I think it's from Germany. So the Christian from Quebec, he brought his copy down, and it's got a modified motor. So at different points it will slow down, it will stop, and then at different points it will go stupid fast, like bunny rabbit
That's
speed.
awesome.
And it's just wild
I
because
have
you're
to get
you're
that.
you're having to hold the chicken, like the thing that holds the chickens. You have to hold that thing down with one hand as you're smacking the piece, and it's
So
just
great.
it's so good. It's like I can do that, but yeah, I think board games really do bring people to the table, and then it doesn't just bring people to the table, but it also makes relationships grow. And I think what's really cool is that also in your situations, it not only made things grow in relationships with friends and with publishers, but also in your own design journey, which is really cool.
Go board games.
Yay! Well, folks, we're going to go head on out. Hope that you have an amazing night. Once again, check out that Kickstarter September 12th, which is kickstarter.com projects fail faster. You can actually even type into Google. I checked it earlier today just to make sure. If you type in fail faster Kickstarter, you'll be able to see the actual link to the game. It will be about the first, second, or third link down, depending on what search engine you're doing. I used Google, so it actually came up as a second thing because there was another fail faster from you that I think that showed up on there as well. Yeah, which is awesome. Yeah, folks, we hope you have an amazing night. We will see you all later. But I'm Chris. Thanks
I'm
for
Jay.
coming by. Hope you all have a great night. Bye.
Bye.